folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this big fella right here. It's called Roundhouse. It's from EmperorS4 Technology, the same people that brought us Hanami-Koji and Planet Defenders, two games that I've already reviewed. This is a heavier, more Euro-style game. It has a prevalent rondel mechanic and a lot of worker placement elements that are within it. So those are some things that I have enjoyed in the past. Let's take a look at it and I'll show you. So here I have a 4-player game of Roundhouse set up for you. Generally speaking, Roundhouse is a mixture between a rondel game and a worker placement game, because you're going to be moving your family leaders around the roundhouse, which in essence is a rondel, and you're going to be placing them in certain rooms, activating the room action, and then using those resources or rewards that you get from that action to generate points in some way, shape, or form. At the end of the game, whoever has the most points is the winner, and the end of the game is determined by this ancestral house over here. In a 4-player game, you'll go 10 rounds, and then in a 2-player game, it's 7, 3-player, 8, and then a 5-player game is 12. Points are awarded for a number of different things throughout the course of the game. When you worship in the ancestral hall, the last worker that you place will score a number of points in whatever spot he lands in. When you finish orders, they are flipped over and they give you a certain number of points at the end of the game. There is also a set collection mechanic with the amulets that will give you a hefty number of points if you're able to collect a number of different amulets. At the end of the game, you'll also be getting 1 point for every 3 coins you have, 1 point for every assistant that is seated in chairs in the ancestral hall, and then you'll also get a number of points equal to, as I stated earlier, all of the different orders that you were able to complete during the course of the game. Each person starts with 5 active assistants that are at their disposal, and the rest of them are placed in your supply, basically. You also start with 1 gold piece and 1 coin. And everybody does also receive a starting order, which means that whenever you fulfill this order, in essence, and for this one, you pay 5 coins to the bank, meaning that you have fulfilled this order. You will then have a special ability that will carry on for the rest of the game. Whenever you get coins, no matter how many coins you're getting, you always get an extra one. And at the end of the game, this one's worth 4 points. So everybody starts with a starting order that are denoted by this symbol here. On your turn, you're going to be doing a number of possibly 5 different things with an additional possibility of a 6th, depending on if you come back to the ancestral hall on your turn while you're moving your leader. The first thing that you can do is activate one of your expert cards. Expert cards are these guys over here, which basically give you better rewards for some of the different rooms that are in the roundhouse. For example, if you activate this gentleman, the tea supplier, on your turn, you can take one of the green cubes that you have in your supply already and place them in a market where green cubes are used and get double the benefit of placing that green cube there. So experts basically give you better rewards, or they simply give you different things throughout the course of the game. So if you activate the little master here, you'll be able to send one of your workers on a market expedition, and you'll also be able to get a coin in return. In addition, he is able to be kept as an amulet at the end of the game. So experts are a good thing to get throughout the course of the game, and you get them in different rooms like this one right here, this one over here. So experts are good. That's the first thing you would do on your turn, is activating an expert. The second thing you would do is move your leader from 1 to 3 spaces clockwise in the rondel. Now, the rondel is navigated in one of a couple of different ways. First of all, you can follow the pathways of the blue hallways that are here, or you can use the stairs in the direction that the arrow is pointing. So, for example, if I'm green, I could go 1, 2, 3. So my first stop would be this room. I would follow the stairs, following the arrow to this room, and then use the blue hallway to go into this room. Or I could stop here and carry out that action, stop here and carry out one of these two actions denoted by the white line here. You have to do this one or this one, not both. Or I could go my full and activate that room's action. The next thing you would do is actually carrying out the action that the room gives you the ability to do. For example, if I stopped here, I could pay 1 coin and 1 guy to take 2 cards of the expert cards that are face up here. Or I can just pay 1 coin and take 1 of them. Or I could pay 1 coin and 3 workers and take 3, all 3 of the face up cards that are there. If I decided to stop here, I could carry out a number of different assistant actions that I would be able to send my assistants on. And there are basically 3 different actions that your assistants can carry out. One of them is simply recruiting, where you take, for example, if I stopped here, I could take 2 of my assistants and move them down into my supply. Or I could take one of my assistants that I already have available and use a market action, which I would actually take them and put them into a town at which the caravan is currently residing, or the merchant is currently residing. Now, if I don't want to put him where he is currently residing, I can pay a coin to move him to another town. Or if I wanted to pay 2 coins, I can move them all the way over here and then place my guy over here if I had some more guys that were already over there. A third action that you'll be able to do with your assistants is placing them in one of the chairs that are in the main hall here. And what that will do is, if you ever take this action, for example, if I had 2 red cubes and my guy was here, and I had an assistant in a chair that was adjacent to that building or room, I would be able to pay 2 reds and take this twice. If he's not here, I'm only ever able to do it once. Then I would be able to track any points that I received during the course of my turn. Maybe some of my expert cards or maybe some of my order cards have been generating me points. If I pass any of these icons on the board, as I'm gaining points, I will be able to draw new order cards that will go into my tableau until they are fulfilled. And that is the 4th thing, is receiving victory points. The 5th thing is fulfilling orders. So if I have a number of resources here that I'm able to use to fulfill any of my active contracts, not these that are out here, they have to come to my tableau first. Then at the 5th thing I can do is fulfill those orders, turning them over, possibly gaining points. It just depends on what the order might be. And then finally, the 6th possible thing that you'll be able to do during your turn is worship. And that happens when your leader, or at least one of your leaders, comes back and rests in the ancestral hall once again. When you worship, you have 2 options of worshiping. You can worship at one of these temples down here, and if you do that, you simply flip it over and take whatever the reward is on the temple for worshiping your ancestors. Or you can worship in the ancestral hall. And this is where the marketing aspect comes into the game. When you put these assistants in a town, of course I'm placing them all there right now just to give you an idea of how worshiping works. But when you place these all and you're trying to get them in one specific location, which could be difficult because this will be moving around the board as each player's turn is taken. When you worship in the ancestral hall, you're going to be choosing one town or one village that has, more often than not, the most of your assistants in it. And then you're going to start with the 1 space right here and place them in a way in such that you are going to be moving in a orthogonal manner. And they all do have to be connected. Once this happens, these return to your supply area. Then the last one is flipped over to its senior side, and it scores that many points. Plus, if you had any people that were in a chair, that would be plus 1 point per person in a chair. So if this were the case, I would score 5, 6 points. Moving my marker to the 6, I pass one of these guys, which means that I then can take, let's say, one of this order, and it comes into my tableau as well. In addition to scoring these points, you also get the rewards that are adjacent here and here. So I would get both of these and a green and a red. Additionally, what would happen here is that the round marker would move 1, which is the time marker. The round marker will move 1 for every person that is here. So what this actually is, and isn't actually a round, it is when 10 people have worshipped in the Ancestral Hall, the game will end after everybody else has taken their last turn. And that's basically it. You are simply trying to generate the most points. Whoever can get their engine working the best using the rondel and the different worker placement aspects, the better is going to come out on top more often than not. There is very little luck here. The only luck coming into whether or not you're able to land on the room that you want to land on without somebody blocking you, because only one leader, family leader, can be in any one room at a time. So you can't double up and take an action where somebody already is. So that is Roundhouse. Now, I don't think it is as heavy as it might seem at first glance. There are a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of parts and a lot of cogs and wheels that are working together. But generally speaking, you only have your turn only consists of 5 different parts, and those parts are very simple. Moving your leader, activating the thing, getting points, possibly getting orders, fulfilling orders, and then possibly worshiping at the end of your turn if you make it back to the Ancestral Hall on your turn. So there isn't a whole lot going on, but it probably does seem slightly daunting at the onset. The different mechanics that are in the game are probably, for those of us who are used to these newer kind of designer games, they're probably somewhat familiar at this point. Rondels have been used somewhat in the past, and worker placement has really been used a lot. So those are 2 things that are really the core of the game, and that will probably make, once you understand that, it'll probably make understanding the game a little bit easier. Now, having said all of that, the rule book was not very well written in English. The translation wasn't as clear as I would have hoped it could have been, and I think it could have been. The iconography on the different rooms was confusing at the onset, and as we began to be a little bit more familiar with how the iconography worked together, then we were able to decipher it much more clearly, much more easily. I thought that the order cards and the experts were good additions to the worker placement and rondel mechanisms, giving you special, more powerful things to do with the experts only once during your turn, though. So that's what kept it in check. These are really powerful actions that you can only use one of per turn. So I thought that was a good thing. The order cards doubling for end of the game points and in-game benefits, those were good as well. I like the dual usage of them there. So all in all, I think that this is a smorgasbord of things that you can do, and at first it seems daunting, but once you actually get into the game, you'll understand that there aren't as many moving parts as you think there are. It all works together well, and I think it comes together as a medium weight, I think, Euro game, probably to the heavy side if you are new to gaming. This is probably one that you will not be pulling off of your shelf with new people, but with gamers, I think this has the potential of making it to the table a lot. I think that the rondel, the theme behind the construction of the board, the graphic design, all works together for a thematically strategic experience, and one that you should probably check out if heavier Euro games are kind of your forte. Now, with that being said, my forte is not heavier war games, and this is probably just outside of the cusp, just past the cusp of those kinds of Euro games that I'll be wanting to play on a more recent or a more consistent manner. It's a little too heavy for me specifically, but at the same time, I didn't find myself floundering in it either. I did well once I understood everything that was going on, and I did remain competitive throughout. So it's not that I can't do it, it's that I don't necessarily enjoy this kind of thing, and other people are much better at doing this kind of stuff than I am. So my final thought is that for me personally, it's probably around a 6. I think that other people who enjoy Euro games a little bit more than I do will probably find this to be very enjoyable and have a higher experience rating on it as far as that's concerned. But that's it for me for Roundhouse. Not a bad game, just not down my alley. I think other people who like Euro games should definitely check it out and see if they like it or not. But that's it from me. We'll see you guys on the flip side.